Before starting any project, it makes logical sense to create a folder to store that project. And so in this case, I've created this folder, welding shelf, and the way I did that is I just simply right click in the location where I want and say no new folder, create that new folder and give it a name. So now I know where my project is going to be. I put it in a particular location. Once I have created that project folder, then I need to create a project pointing to that folder. And so I will go to projects, and I'll say create a new project. I'm assuming that we're not using Vault in this case, that we're using I'll do a single user project, and I'm going to give this project the same name. I'll call it welding shelf, and I'll then click on this ... and I'll go to the location wherever you created your folder, and here is the folder that I created. Alright, so I'm going to save the files to this path. I know what that path is. I can't possibly lose my files because I've set up a project. And I'll go ahead and say finish on this. And I see now that that's my active project. I have a check mark here showing that that's the active project. I'll say done. And I'm going to create a skeleton for the frame that we're going to do. So I'll do a new part file. And I'm going to start from the top view, whatever view makes logical sense. And I'm going to draw a rectangle for my frame, and I will dimension it whatever size it should be. I'm just going to make this real small so that we'll be able to clearly see everything. And so I have a rectangle here that I've drawn. I'm going to draw another rectangle or a line or a rectangle on one of these other faces. So I'll do a new sketch, and I'm going to draw a line down like that. So I've got some lines in here for my skeleton. So I'll go ahead and save this file, and I'm going to call this welding shelf, but I'm going to do the extension IPT on that. Alright, so I wanted to save that as the name skeleton, so let's do a save as on that, and I want to change that name. I like to name this as my skeleton file so that I know that this is the skeleton, or maybe I even call it frame skeleton, whatever. Then I'm going to start a new assembly file. Now I really want this to be a Weldment, and I could go to file new, and I could tell it to do a Weldment, but let's assume that I forgot that and I just went up here and I did a new assembly. Alright, so I'm going to place my skeleton file, and don't click on the screen, it'll place it wherever you happen to click. Right click, tell it place grounded at origin. Hit escape. So I've now placed my skeleton for my frame at the origin. I'll go ahead and save this file, and so I'm going to name this welding shelf. I'm going to put that IAM extension on the end of that. Okay, so now I have my assembly saved. Everything's being saved where my active project is. I'll go to the design tab, and I'm going to insert a frame member. So I'll select my frame, and I'll select a path, and maybe I want this to go along the path like that, and I might want to rotate this 90 degrees, and I will apply that one, and then I will do the next one, and I might want this one at this corner or this corner. I'll put another part in. I'm going to hide my skeleton. I'll trim up the parts. Alright, now I want to put some weld beads in here. And so I'm going to convert this to a weldment. So I'll go to the environments tab and I'll do convert to weldment, and I'll set whatever I want my material to be. I'm going to attempt to do a fillet weld, and I'm going to start out with a real small fillet weld. Let's say 0.0625. And for my first face, I'm going to select this large flat face, and the second face I will select this face. And it's not previewing, well, it is previewing a fillet weld going from here up to here, and I will try to increase that size. So I'll do that to 0.125, and when I do it to 0.125, it only goes from here to here. I'll go to the first selection phase, and I'll select this face and this face as well, and I'll go down here and select this face, and then on second selection I'll select this face, and it's not previewing, so I'm not going to be able to put a fillet weld in there initially. So I'm going to cancel out of that, and I'm going to do a groove weld instead, and I'll select this face first, and then I'll go to second face and I'll select this face, and then for the fill direction I'll click here for fill direction. I want it perpendicular to that face so that it's going straight over. You can experiment. Now I can see that it's previewing from here to here, but you can also experiment with the full face selections and see, you know, what that does. In this case, I don't want this selected full face. I'll say OK to that, and so I have a weld bead going from here over to here. Now I'll attempt to put a fillet weld over top of that, and so I'll do a fillet weld, and I'm going to select this face again, and for second selection I'm going to select both this face and this face, and we see that it's going to put a fillet weld just from right here to here, a little bit larger bead in there. And so we'll come over here and we'll do the same thing. And so again, I'm going to do a groove weld. I'm going to select this face first, and then I'll do second face. I'll select this face, and then I'm going to, for the fill direction, I'm going to say put it perpendicular to that face. I'll say OK to that, so that fills in that groove. And then I'll do a fillet weld. I'll select this as my first face, and I'll do second face. I'll select this face and this face, and I'll say OK to that. I've put in my weld beads. I'll click return. I'll save the files. If I go to the project folder, I see that here's my assembly, and if I drill down into, so Inventor automatically created this subfolder, and in that subfolder is the frame numbers. And so if I need to send this to somebody, then I can just go up to the top level, right click, and I could say send this to a zip folder, and everything is within that zip folder.